Hey folks, today we are going to take a look at the Underwater Cavern, Age of Calamitous dungeon. It's located in the back of the passage, which I covered in my last video. This time we're going to go through the back door, which is located up here in the snowy north. There isn't normally a map marker here, I just made one to help me remember. So we can come in through the back door here and skip all the jumping puzzle stuff that you have to do when you enter from the jungle side. Just going to run down the stairs here and run past the undead monstrosity. And we just want to get to this pool of water, which has a glowing green sort of column of water coming from the ceiling. And we want to swim to the bottom. So I'm going to start by popping a basic vanilla water breathing potion, which only lasts for a minute, but that's just so I don't drown while we're discussing how this works. So you'll see as soon as we pop into the dungeon, which happens right when we get to the bottom here, it is pitch black and we are underwater. So about the scariest situation you can find yourself in this game. There are a few light sources that work underwater. We got the glowing stick, it's called, which you get from the Dregs dungeon. This is fairly easy to craft, and a lot of the glowing algae that's used to make it is located in this dungeon, but as you can see, the vision isn't great. Felgarth get access to the Orb of Light as they're in their initial feat. It's a little better, but still, these underwater areas are just full of plants and rocks and all kind of look the same, so if you can't see very far in front of you, you're going to have a real difficult time. Van Ghoul also get the Skull Torch, which again, does sort of the trick, but not really what we're looking for. So we are going to want night vision to really get through this. I'm going to pop another breathing potion so I don't die here. And let's look at our night vision options. So we've got Argosian Dream Dust, which drops from the animal trainers you'll find over here in the Beastmaster Tamos camp, as well as a couple down in Flotsam. Each one of them drops one Dream Dust, and that gives you night vision for 5 minutes solid. So if you bring 10 of those in here, you'll have 50 minutes of night vision. That's an awfully long time. What I don't like about it is you can't switch it on and off. So, if you end up in an area that does have light, you'll just be blinded by it. The Night Eye Potion, which is a Jebel Sog religion item, works the same way. That's 5 minutes of night vision. The Night Stalker's Mask is a drop from the Unnamed City bosses, the humanoid skeleton bosses. There's 4 of them, and each has a chance to drop this. This is probably our simplest option for getting night vision, though of course it does require farming bosses, but you see if we put that on, this is remarkably different. Take the torch off and now it's even clearer. Hey folks, Future Chum here butting in because I forgot a very important point. As you can see, it's quite pitch black for me right now, and yet I'm wearing the Night Stalker's Mask, and on the left side there you can see I have the night vision buff, and yet I absolutely do not have night vision. That is a quirk of this game, which is that the night vision is a post-processing effect, and if we go and check out our graphics options here, with post-processing set to medium, we get no night vision at all. As soon as I switch it to high and pop back out, now we've got full night vision. Ultra, I think, just enhances the effect slightly, but it doesn't make you see any further. So often people get in here and equip their night vision item or pop their dream dust and say, what the heck, night vision doesn't work, what's going on, broken game, unplayable. Turns out you just got to up your graphic setting, if temporarily. Your system may not be happy with you for a little bit, but just do it to get through this. All right, back to the video. Water breathing is an issue. As you can see, my breath is going down real fast. The underwater breathing mask is given by Beastmaster Tamos, and as you can see, it slows the breath reduction but does not stop it. We got Fish Gill Potion. I'll use one of those. As you can see, that lasts 2 minutes rather than 1 minute, so slightly better vanilla option for us. For 5 minutes, we can have the Stormcaller's Breathing Potion. That's unlocked with a level 40 feat in the Felgarth faction. And then 10 minutes we can get out of the Breath of Dagon, which is from the Sunken City dungeon and requires some drops from that dungeon in order to craft. So again, limited time and complicated crafting, or this one is faction locked. The Riptide Javelin is easily our simplest item here. So I'm going to switch back to the Night Stalker's Mask and then equip the Javelin, which I forgot to mention drops from the Winged Death gargoyle boss in the unnamed city. And from here, we now have, as you can see on the left there, there's two water breathing buffs, one from the potion and one from the Riptide, but the Riptide buff does not have an expiration, and of course the night vision doesn't either. So that is the simplest way using vanilla items to have full-time water breathing and full-time night vision. The one thing about the Riptide, the first time I used it was in the Sunken City, and just immediately accidentally hit right click while I was underwater, and because it's a javelin, right click throws, and it's very easy to throw it and just lose it completely. The good thing is you can see my stamina is already down to negative 50, because when you're underwater your stamina is constantly draining, so if I spam right click right now, nothing happens. So you're a little safer once you run out of stam, but it's a sketchy thing to have to rely on. But you know, you got to take what you can get. The best option that's really tailor-made for this dungeon comes from the Shadarian Dominion sub-faction of the Elven Covenant, which is Powers of the Dominion. As you can see here, we get both underwater breathing and night vision in a single item. So I'm going to stick with that just because it's the simplest thing. I don't have to worry about refreshing anything, but you can absolutely get through here with a few dream dusts and even just some basic vanilla breathing potions, because there are places where we can swim to the surface and get our breath. So let's look at the dungeon. As you can see from the start here, to the west is just the dead end sort of. So east is where we want to go. And we're looking for a visual cue here, which is a school of eels that are fairly well lit. You can see them from a distance, at least with night vision, but this big pillar here blocks it. So this is one of the first and easiest ways to get confused in here, is you can't see what you're looking for because it turns out it's on the other side. Also, if you're swimming around the bottom trying to find the exit, you'll never find it. It's up here. So the first cavern, there's a series of large caverns that have small pathways or doorways to get to the next section. The first cavern, we want to look up into the east and find our eels. These have no collision. They don't move around or anything, so they're easy enough to find. You also see a lot of like glowing algae in here, which will help you if you want to craft more torches or just farm. Like mystical plant comes from there as well. You can use a sickle underwater, but of course when you're out of stamina you can't, so you'll need to first find a landing, get your stamina back, and then you can go do some gathering. Also, these are a bunch of tin nodes. It's actually a lot of really good mining here. Underwater mining is quite awkward. Here's some Eviari nodes, and of course the crystals are farmable as well. But yeah, mining underwater does kind of suck because of the stamina issues, so your mileage may vary. Anyway, up here is the first place that we can get some air as well as recover our stamina by walking over here. You can't, for example, climb up onto the rock from the water if you have 0 stamina, so you have to find a place where you can safely land. So we got these 2 landings, and then we can climb up here. Now, you don't need to come up here at all unless what you're looking for is the Tome of the Water Element, which we get from the Magus of the Water Element at the top here, or the Felgarth sub-faction quest. This is such an awkward little area to navigate. So here is the Magus of the Water Element. As you can see, Tome of the Water Element, there's your cost. That's required to make the Sanctum of Coralina, which is the water magic crafting station. So if you're interested in getting involved in water magic, you'll have to come up here at least once. And then here we get the Tome of Starlight, which is available to everybody when you click on it, but it's only used in the Felgarth sub-faction quest. So I'm going to throw that out since I'm not on that quest right now, but that's where you find it. We want to continue along east to get out of this cavern. There's nothing else in here except, just visual, cute stuff, fish and plants and whatnot. But I'm going to head down here. Again, lots of good nodes, Eviari, tin. This time, our exit to the next cavern is down low rather than up high. Now, being down low in this dungeon is tough because the developer is kind of a troll. So these spikes are very strong. Besides the typical spike trap bleed, their initial damage is way higher than the spikes in like Warmaker's Sanctuary, and with my meager 800 health and no armor, they will nearly one-shot me. So anytime you need to get down to the surface, watch for spikes, and as soon as you can, get off the floor, because you never know when you're just going to run into some unexpected spikes. So here's our next major cavern area. We go through this doorway here. And the whalebone is kind of our, what would you call it, our landmark for this cavern. You know, we'll say that this is the whalebone cavern. Now, there's a little sort of temple structure here, and the light, anytime you see a light in here, it usually means there's something of interest. In this case, the light leads to a fishman who is non-aggressive. He's friendly, and his name is Bjorgl. And if we talk to Bjorgl, if you have water magic unlocked, at least just the water magic 1 feat, you can learn the feat Frozen Depths, which I will do now, and that gives you the Ice Shards water magic spell. So, you know, it's just a sort of simple magic projectile spell. So headed west from there, we get the stone face statue. This is another big important landmark because this marks sort of a crossroads where we can go a few different directions. First thing we could do is go up top, just to the right of the statue, and there's a little sort of camp area. You got a campfire here if for whatever reason you need to use one. But what we're really looking for is over here. This is another magic spell. This is the Cloud Storm feat, which teaches us the electrical burst air magic spell. So you need air magic to be able to get this, and you know, just adds another spell to your arsenal if you're interested. So back down to the face, we can go through the mouth of the stone face, and there's a couple things in here, but this is kind of a little dead end. This is not the way to the end. After going through this little doorway here, if we look on the left, we will see a tablet, and we can click that to learn the Bane of the Cursed. Bane of the Cursed is basically a poison that can be applied to weapons, lasts for 10 hits, and does bonus damage to undead enemies. You know, your decision whether that's worth your time or not, but this does require arcane magic, which if you haven't been here yet, you don't know arcane magic because the Arcane Magic Shrine is in this dungeon. So first we'll go learn arcane magic, and then if you wanted to come back for this, you could. There's some bars here that we cannot get through, as well as some pretty well hidden spikes here, so you can get around this by going this way, but there's really nothing to see there. We'll get to the other side of the bars by leaving the stone face statue and taking a different route. So here we are now exiting the mouth. I'll face the statue just so we can get our bearings again. So from here, if we look left and go low, there we are, we find another route out. Now again, as always, watch for spikes. I don't actually remember where all the spikes are. I just remember to stay off the floor of this dungeon at all times when possible. So here in the next section, again, watching for spikes anytime we're forced to go low, we've now opened up a whole new big giant cavern with an enormous sea creature, as well as a ship that somebody managed to squeeze in here. This is the last major section of the Underwater Cavern, so if you spent 30 minutes running around here completely lost like I did first time you were here, it turns out it's actually pretty short. So that took a minute to pop, but this bright light up here is Bobby's Sanctuary. That's where we find Bobby and Sir Lannis and all that. So that'll be one of our last stops here. But first, if we look to the left of Bobby, here's a big temple, and we can swim into this temple. This is where the Arcane Magic Shrine is located. So in order to learn arcane magic, you need to first get, of course, the Ancient Arts, which is a prereq for all AOC magic, and then the Mystic Attunement, which is found behind the Witch Queen's altar after you defeat her in the Palace of the Witch Queen. Once you've done both of those things, you can come here and click this shrine, and you will learn the first feat of arcane magic. Now these shrines are also used to upgrade your magic by bringing arcane power gems, and see here when we click Tome of Mystic Ascension Volume 1 is needed for me to level up to the first level, and then you'll need Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4 in order to level yourself all the way up to 5. You will have to come back here every time you want to level that up, but you could just stack up the full set of books and gems to level yourself all the way to 5, and then just come here and do the whole thing once. So swimming back out, see the ship again, and if we look to the left, we see the light, and the light is where we would get to Bobby, but I actually forgot one thing, which is those bars that we saw earlier. there is one last item on this side of the bars, which is an Elvanor subfaction quest item. The Elvanor subfaction quest involves finding a number of talismans in little tiny lootable boxes throughout the world. So just over in this section here, we should find the great. There it is. See, I'm preparing a guide for this, and even I get mixed up. This little box here, it's not going to let me interact with it. I'll show you, but it doesn't let you interact with it unless you're on the quest, unlike the Felgarth book. But we just click the box, and it'll say quest not active. So if you were on the Elvanor subfaction quest, that would get you one of the items that you need to finish that. So I'm going to swim back around here, past the ship, and up to the glowing area where Mr. Bobby and Sir Lannis are located. So Bobby is a skeleton, sort of mischievous. You'll see the music changes to sort of a Danny Elfman thing when we get up there. And he offers a few cosmetic items, but also you can purchase him for use at your base, and he will sell you resources for AOC currency, as well as buy resources from you if you insert a haggler thrall into Bobby the Merchant. Back to the video. As you can see, I don't have any stamina, so I couldn't quite climb up there, but we'll see if we can get one of these to let me up. There we go. So I'm going to take off my Powers of the Dominion now because the light is all blown out. We can click any one of these NPCs all over here, and they all functionally are the same. They'll show us the Bobby Sanctuary items. So we got a couple of cosmetics here. One of them unlocks a feat. Plague Panties, you can see the stats on those in the crafting guide, which I'll link in the description. Basically, it reduces a bunch of your stats, but gives you a ton of stamina and grit. Ghost Boots, Dress, Mask, and Gloves. This set turns you essentially into a spectral, ghostly sort of figure. So, you know, it's casual clothing, so it doesn't have any armor stats, as you see, 10 on the boots. But, it's a cute little cosmetic thing. These require worm scales, as do everything here. Worm scales are a special drop that we'll see in the final area of Bobby's dungeon, which I'm going to call Bobby's Arena. That's where actual fighting goes down, and since I just came in my Speedo, I won't be doing any fighting, but I'll at least show you what it looks like. So those are our options, but you see we don't have the option to buy Bobby or Lannis, and that's because it's locked behind a feat that I kept unopened here on purpose to show you the difference between the two, because a lot of people come here and they say, well, why can't I buy Bobby? And it turns out at level 25 they didn't buy this weird feat because they said, what the hell do I need a severed leg for? Well, if you want to get Bobby, you got to unlock this feat. Now when we look at him again, we see Bobby the Merchant and Sir Lannis Brunel. Just keep those up for a second so you can look at the cost. Obviously it's important to bring the appropriate materials. I mean, certainly not going to find a pitchfork in here if you want to purchase these things. The exception being the ghost gear, which only costs worm scales. We can get those in the next section. So outside of the sanctuary here, we've got a portal, and if we go through it, we're now in, again, what I would call the Bobby's Arena section. Now, I'm naked and really don't have a lot going on here, so I'm going to cloak in God mode so that I could show you these mobs without just immediately getting killed. So there are worms that scooch around here. Here's one. Wanted to hit him to see his HP, but they have 500 HP. I guess they're a little too low on the ground for my fists. 500 HP, and then you can use a skinning knife on them and get both unstable substance and worm scales, which are used in the all those recipes. These little homunculus monstrosity things that are carrying around severed limbs, those are Lannis Brunhild's minions. They also give pretty good loot. Full loot tables for everything are in the crafting guide, which will be in the description of this video. And finally, running around here are Bobby and Sir Lannis himself. I could definitely hit Bobby, and as you can see, he's got 38,000 health. Now, Bobby's real tough, but he drops tremendous loot and gives a ton of XP. I think he gives 2.5 million XP for killing him. Sir Lannis gives, I believe, 1.5 million. Here he is, Sir Lannis, the funny-looking alien guy. I think he's just a scaled-down version of the giants from the base game, but, he looks cool. So, see, he's got 35,000 health, so they're very difficult, and you can see also their movement is really erratic and wild. They've found something over here they find interesting. You know how this game is. Down here, this cloud is Alarican Plague, the thing we all know and hate. But as you can see on the left side here, it only stacks to 2, where Alarican Plague normally stacks to 20. So still pretty unsafe to fight down here. In general, you'd want to keep the fight up here, but you're going to run into situations, you know, if you're doing this fight for real, where you need to kite, you need to heal up, you need to just get away. So, you know, that may be the safest bet in some cases. Now, remember at the beginning, we saw a column of water and a glowing green light. What we saw was this room. So if we fall down here, we're actually in the passage the whole time, and the lake here is how we entered, and this is also how we can leave. We just come up to the top, and there's the stairs out, and you've done it. You've cleared the Underwater Cavern, gotten everything you needed, and hopefully got out alive, because it is a hell of a corpse run in there. So if you are playing on a server that causes you to drop items on death, I would suggest coming in real light, because those spikes are really trolly. Bobby's very difficult. Sometimes you just drown or you get lost, and you don't want to leave all your gear under the water there. So anyway, hope that helps. Take care, folks.